your neighbors must love you.
Yeah, not so much. Good morning, guys, and welcome back to the Wackadoo Racing Channel. Saturday again, so we're going to go ahead and jump right into it. This is episode 2 of working on getting the rust out of Project Hidalgo. Last time we ended up cutting out a bunch of material and made a lot of headway. Today I'll be working by myself, but we got a really good start on it last weekend. So hopefully I'll be able to get a little bit further today. Not as hot, but everything's on fire, so being out here and breathing kind of gives you a migraine. That's just how it goes. I did manage to get the belts for this thing. I have a little bit of a belt spacing issue I got to deal with on this. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But for now, it's time to just go ahead and get started and see what I can't get done today. I'm going to be continuing on the driver's side just because I have a little bit of a better grasp on what I've got going on over here, because I was already working on this a bit more before we tore into the passenger's side. I vowed to try and get a little bit of headway on it during the week, and that simply didn't happen. There wasn't enough time. But fortunately, I got time today, so that's where we're going to start. Alright, so I've got this small panel trimmed into place here, and you can see where it's going to be filling into the bottom of this seat pan well. And it wraps around here. This will require some massaging and probably a small patch here. And then I've got the jack with a piece of wood holding these two seams together where it's nice and flat. Because what I was getting here was the actual floor pan was starting to come down this way, probably from kneeling on it or something of that nature. But now I've got this seam kind of buttoned up using the pressure of the jack to keep this nice and straight across there. I just fit the outside rocker as a test fit to see how it looks, and I'm pretty pleased with it. So I think what needs to happen next is I need to weld some of this in, because a lot of this massaging is going to require it to be welded, so that when I start tapping on it and smacking on it and forming it a little bit, we don't have a bunch of distortion where the metal is pulling away or popping. Like, I've got a bunch of these spots held in with screws. I'm going to go back and just weld those shut real quick once the screws are pulled. But in the areas where I had enough material to do so, that gave me an opportunity to hold the material without having to use these clamps that, frankly, I don't trust. They're low quality, but what do you expect for $6? But I think that's the next step, is I need to get something welded. I managed to get the floor pan in. I managed to get that small sub rocker welded in place, trimmed up the way that we wanted it, and then so that I can move forward to the back of the truck and continue moving on without having to worry about those things distorting or being moved or bumped or whatever. I went ahead and welded them. I skipped the time lapse on welding them because it's kind of a boring process, and frankly, if you've not seen welding, I don't know where you've been. It's all welded up around the footwell, around the sides, all the way around here. That way we've got a nice solid base for us to fit our rocker panels up to later, but for now, that's solid.
So apparently when you show up to the Wackadoodle garage after a long day at work, you get a camera shoved in your hand, and you get to look at progress and update you guys on the interwebs. Made some progress, huh, bud? looks like you've made some progress here, Bubba. Got that panel all welded in, ground up a little bit, sprayed down, so it looks like it's actually, decent.
Practically floor.
Practically floor. How's it, can I give it a little thud?
Give it a thuddy thud. She's solid.
That's metal, bud.
That's
definitely metal.
So now I can say that from the front of this truck until where that black line stops, this something's solid. The rest of it is up for questioning.
Progress.
But I am at least 5% closer to having 29 feet of solid truck.
That's a solid 15% of the cab. So progress. That's all nice and well. Next step. You were giving me a little rundown on this rear cab corner.
So the cab corner is shot. There's not a lot of way around that, and the problem that we're running into is that the bed itself is welded to the frame, so I don't have access to what needs to be removed to get this whole cab corner replaced. Now, this cab corner is very much oversized considering we're actually replacing a much smaller portion of this, because this comes way up somewhere around here, and in reality, since I have access to the inside and I can see what's actually bad, we're only dealing with rot up to about there. Just didn't work well. So we don't need to cut all this out and give ourselves extra work, and I actually have access to this point underneath the truck. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to end up trimming off what's actually bad from the patch panel, patching it into place, welding it from the interior and the underside of the truck, and then when the bed comes off at a later date so that we can start overhauling the bed, I'll have access to the interior of this panel, the exterior of this panel, and I can actually weld it at that point and smooth it out. But for now, I'll be able to replace the part without having to worry about the repercussions of cutting off the bed. So the main concern is we need to figure out at what height our rot stops, because obviously this is rotten. And the way you do that, one of the many ways you can do that, is the painful act of striking it with a sharp end body hammer. And this will tell you where the rot stops. If it goes through, that metal's bad. And as soon as it stops, stop climbing. So as soon as we get to here, so obviously this is all collapsing as I tap on it, but it's solid right above that. That's just body filler. But realistically now, this panel here, we know that it's a solid steel piece. We can start looking at where our cut line needs to be, which is around here. And we can trim this panel to fit with what we cut off here. Which should save us a bunch of time and energy. Instead of replacing this entire patch, we'll only replace what we need to. And it's also going to save us a lot of hassle with the fact that this bed at this junction can't come off yet.
All right, well, here's the deal. Started working on it, trying to get that back cab corner all figured out. And Derek, say hi to the camera.
Hey everybody.
There you go. So as we're starting to dig into this cab corner, trying to not blow out the light too much, it's got another 2 layers all pinch welded in. So we think we got it pretty well mocked up. We cut a little too much off of the actual patch panel, but we'll be all right. We'll be able to get it in place, get it tacked in, pull the rockers back up, and get the rockers tied in, tacked in, and see if we can get everything to kind of line up.
For the moment, it looks really good here. It's going to look equally good there. Hopefully, I'll be able to make a few minutes to work on it during the week, but for the moment, I got to figure out how to get past this. Alternatively, I'm going to help out our buddy Derek here. I need to patch up a couple of holes in an aluminum boat, and that's going to take up a few more minutes of our time, so we're going to go ahead and...
It's right there.
Way over there somewhere.
It's right in there somewhere. So we're going to get that thing out of the bed of the truck, bring it over, and let old Hoss here get to going on some aluminum welds.
Always time for helping a friend. So for now, that's more important.
Dakota, do me a favor, flip my phone off real quick. Huh? Just flip my phone off. Just give it a good burp. Thank you, sir.
You know what it is. That's all you, Doug. It's your turn.
Wagadoo out.
It's Monday. Just got off work. I'm gonna hit it again. I'm gonna try and hit it pretty much every day this week. Gonna have to put in a lot of extra hours to get this thing where I want it, and unfortunately doing it on just Saturdays ain't gonna cut it. So, new priority. Alright, it's about 9 o'clock Monday night, so I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up so I can go take this in the house, shower up and edit it till about midnight, and hopefully I'll have this thing ready for you on Friday, and then I can go ahead and start throughout the week working on it so that hopefully on Friday when I film again, or Saturday when I film again, I'll have a lot more progress made. But I've already made much more progress today than I have in the last several days because I'm just starting to get a feel for where everything is going to end up, so to kind of show you where I'm at. Got the actual exterior rocker tacked up for now, just to get an idea what it's going to look like and where my gaps are going to be. Still going to make a little filler there. I did end up cutting the corner off of the bed so that I could patch in this panel here to do the bed corner. The reason for that is this bed is in horrible shape. The way it's built is bad. It's welded to the frame. The material's rusting out in several places. There's a lot of reasons this bed needs to come off. It needs to be reworked anyways. So there's no qualm with cutting it, particularly to get to the cab where I need it to be right, so that when we separate the bed, that's one less thing to worry about and I can move forward. And it was also kind of a reference point for where that rocker needed to sit. But for now, that's it.